Hello and welcome to Timberborn. My name's Holzi. This will hopefully be the first episode of a both educational and entertaining tutorial series, which I think I'm gonna call Timberguide. My goal with this one is to go a bit more into depth of the mechanics as well, but also take it slow and a bit more, in depth. So the first thing we're gonna do, start a new game. As you can see, I'm in the experimental snapshot for the 1.0 update, so hopefully this tutorial will not be obsolete by the time 1.0 releases, whenever that is, and that we are still relevant and that there's not too many, new features or tweaks or balances that they're going to do to it. With that, we're going to start a new game. In Timberborn, in the very beginning, you only have access to the folk tales. Later on, you can unlock Iron Teeth. We'll talk a bit about how in a bit later. But for now, we're going to pick the folktales. There are some maps, as you can see, that are marked as beginner-friendly. We're actually going to skip those. I feel free to play them as beginner-friendly, but my point with this is also to show that a lot of the stuff, it's not as hard as you might think. It's not as dangerous as you might think. And when you watch other creators, as I do as well, the pace and everything is quite a bit harder. They're often on hard mode. And it feels a bit daunting sometimes, I almost have a feeling. I want to take Canyon, a fairly small one, and let's pick normal as a difficulty. Well, first of all, we're going to need to give this a name. So, Timberguide is going to be our settlement, because this is, as I say, hopefully, a guide series. And as you see, as soon as we give it a name, the game starts playing, and the tutorial flashes. I think actually when you start it up the first time, this is open. But because I've played it before, it does pop up like this. And, well, weirdly enough, in my tutorial series, I'm going to play and do what they say in the tutorial. So, as it says, it will tell you what you need to do and how to progress. One of the first things is it explains to you the movement. So, with your middle mouse button, you can move around. If you want to rotate, you just simply hold right-click and zoom around. And for zooming, you simply scroll in, go onto your beaver, and you scroll out again. So that's it for movement and, doing your camera stuff. And I mean, this is not new, this is any game. The things it says here now, those can be very handy. And you will see a lot of creators do that, basically. Like, the second they start up the game, the first thing they do is they either hit up here the pause button or they hit spacebar, which both pauses the game. And especially if you start a map on hard mode, I would highly recommend doing that. Or if you like me, gonna talk for an hour now. However, I'm trying not to pause it too much for the very simple reason, because you don't need to rush. You don't need to go in and have a full plan of how your colony is gonna look or anything. You can actually take it fairly slow without big consequences on that, basically. The next thing in the tutorial, and those you will need later on as well, is the speed of the game. So at the moment, it's at the normal speed. You can see it looks like real time, basically. The beavers are walking around, etc. And then if you hit either these buttons up here, you can speed it up, or if you use your keyboard 1, 2, and 3. You can switch between the modes. And these three together with spacebar, you're going to use a lot. Or I recommend you to use a lot. I mean, you do you. But it really helps when you start bigger maps or complicated maps, etc. If something goes wrong, hit spacebar, pause the game, look at the situation, what's happening, and act accordingly. Now, what is Timberborn? Actually, well, it's a little game about beavers, and it's a survival city builder, in a way. And what do beavers like most? They like wood, as the tutorial says. So, in order to get wood, we need to put up a lumberjack flag, which is in the wood section, and normally, now that I clicked on it, it starts flashing. So it will tell you which category it is, have a look through them, what you can do. And you will see also that some things are locked. For those you need signs, we'll get into that later. But the basics, are usually unlocked. And you can see here when I move this around, you have this green outline. That is basically the range of what this lumber beaver can get. So let's place this one down. It actually says we need to place 2. So let's put a second one over here. And I think actually I'm going to put this up here so I can reach all of the upper ones. So now we have placed 2 lumberjack flags. The next thing is we need to build them. And in order for them to build, you can see if I select the district center, we have 2 builders in here. We could for the beginning actually increase the workers. So now there's 4 here. And they will, well, I've talked so much, the first day has gone. So up here you see their working hours. The yellow one is sort of the daytime, blue is nighttime, and you can adjust working hours up and down. Default is 16, and it's good for most things. We'll get into that later. But the reason they're not building it right now is because I talked too long, and we're now down to the night, and these poor beavers will sleep out in the open, because we also haven't built them any houses or anything. But now, as we said earlier, I might as well just hit the 3 on my keyboard, so that the night goes faster. And as soon as the sun rises, you will see the beavers starting to hammer away on this lumberjack flag and building this one actually. But you see, despite us having 4 beavers in here, nobody has built this one. And it actually does say down here, you can extend the range of your district center by placing paths. And they are over here in the path section. Let me actually show you one else. So when I click on this, you see the green outline again. And this one is in range and this one is out of range. So if I now select a path from this building and drag it over to these stairs, and even up here you saw it connect a little bit. And now as soon as that's done, one of the beavers walks over and builds this. So I'll speed it up a bit. And once that is built, the tutorial continues and actually also says to connect both of them. This one actually had a symbol, so we can now do that. Connect them. And as you see from this symbol, so the game is really good at telling you if you forgot something. We haven't told these beavers which trees to cut down. And as you see from the tutorial, again, down here, you need to mark trees for cutting. And because we're gonna need a lot of wood in the future, we're just gonna mark every single one of these. And you see I'm marking areas, basically, and it also stays sort of on the level. So if you select all of these trees up here, it will not go to the next higher level. Good. Now these are marked, and you will see they will start eating away. I mean, as beavers do on wood. The next thing they will need is water. So we're gonna have to build a water pump. So we go down here to water, we select the water pump, and we can place it. And this is the first time that we really need to look a bit at these little things here, where we rotate the building. And the easier one is to do that with R or Shift R on keyboard. Or if you want, you can also, sometimes that's necessary, mirror the building. So you see this little arrow here, that's the door and where you need to connect the path. And sometimes you want to have that on the other side. So with pressing F, you can do that. And we're gonna build one for now. If you, especially if you play on hard, I would highly recommend build more than one. We're gonna see in a moment why. Hello, are you gonna? Okay, they're coming over with the wood. I'm gonna speed this up a bit. For your very first drought on a normal one that is coming, you're gonna be fine with just one water pump. But I will purposefully just do what the tutorial tells me. So you will see, how dangerous that basically is. You can actually see that these beavers are getting thirsty. So if you can do this on day 1, don't talk for 24 hours and have it rather early. So the next thing to water is we need food. So we come down here, we build a gatherer flag, and for food we have different options. The first one the tutorial tells us is a gatherer flag. So on a gatherer flag, what they will do is gather berries and other things later. Once you're a bit more in late game, you will have other things that they need to collect. But in the very beginning, this is your starting food. You also start out with some food. Up here's your resources. Yes, let's speed up through the night and build this gatherer flag. Good. The next thing in terms of food is an efficient farmhouse. You see it's already flashing here. And here I would also recommend you, again, check the area that you cover with it, but also your green area. So any fruit and any tree or anything needs to have water in order to survive. You see up here the trees, those are dead. Whereas down here, the pine trees are fine. And you need to check that your land is irrigated so that it's green. And that also means you want to build as little as possible on the green areas, because that means you can't plant trees, you can't plant food, and all these little things. So, in order to get a good coverage, I'm gonna put this here, right next to our district center, and then the beavers can build this one. And the next thing it's gonna tell us to do is that we need to tell it to plant crops. And I'm gonna wait for it, because I wanna plant exactly the amount that it tells us, or more or less exactly. And I don't remember by heart which one it was or how much. So, can we get this done, please, beavers? There we go. So now it has nothing to do, and that is because we haven't told it to plant anything. So it wants 100 carrots. So we're going to plant a crop section here. There's different options. Some you need to unlock something later again. But a very good beginning food is carrots. And so we're going to place what's that, 10 by 10? That should be 100, right? I can do math. Yeah, that was at least 100. Where that was exactly, you'll have to tell me. And now we have the first two different things that it suggests us. It suggests us storage and science. And we're going to start with the storage. Science will be relevant and important, but not as fast as some of the storage. So we're going to go over here and we're going to build a large pile as it wants us to do. And I'm going to build one right next to the district center. Once that is built, it will ask for what should it store. You can do that also already beforehand. So we can go in here and can tell it to set it to store logs. And you see this one actually it has already done even before it's built. And then while they're doing that, we can go into the science and we can build an inventor. And this one I'm actually going to put up here because I don't want this to be on the green. The log pile, I want it to be, close enough to both of these gatherer flags and especially close to our building center, or our district center, sorry, so that our builders have a short way whenever they go and collect wood to build other things. So let's skip the night again. And then the next morning, once our dear beavers wake up, they will hopefully continue with the building. So pile is built. So now the lumberjack beavers will actually start putting it in here as well once their internal storage is done. Sorry, this up here is the lumberjack. You can see down here they have an internal storage always, and because they haven't really had much time to cut down trees and we've built so much, this has never grown full. But once this is full, they will start putting in the pile. Good. Inventor is built, storage is built. Now we need more storage, and this time it's water. And here's something where I suggest to you highly, place your water storage close to your pump. And the reason being is anytime beavers work and need to go to some storage, the beaver in here is the one that also puts whatever they are working on into storage. So the lumberjack beavers here, they will store it in this one, but once this is full, they will have to carry it over here. We also need to tell it to select water. And one thing that's new in the 1.0 update is that you can actually copy the settings and just click like this. And now they all are set to store water, which is very handy. Before you needed to go into every one and set it here. But that means that this beaver here only needs to go as far as this tank in order to deposit their water. So you want these to keep relatively short, or later down the line, we're going to speak on that more in detail. You can have other beavers haul all of the materials wherever they need to be and do that kind of thing. But in the very beginning, place the things you need close to where you need them, basically. So the next two things it wants us to build is again storage. This time, warehouses. I'm gonna place them best? I think just next to each other for now. I will need to extend the path. So every building needs to be connected to a path, otherwise you get symbols like this. And then we're gonna set one of them to berries, which is already our storage is full, which is why this little beaver is just sitting there, not doing anything. Lazy bastard. And this one is the carrots, which haven't grown yet. So they haven't been harvested. Good. While all of that is gone, let's go to the next things. And for reasons I'll explain in a second, I'm gonna start with the power and planks, because your beavers are fine sleeping outside. For the folk tails, it's important that you put up housing at some point, because they will only grow the population, or you will only get new beavers once they have housing and there's an empty bed in the housing. So if you never build houses with the folktail beavers, eventually your colony will die out because they will not repopulate when the old beavers die of old age. And that is hopefully the only reason they die off. But, you know, we just started it, so there's time. So it wants us to build a water wheel. And these you can place in water, and it will actually give you a little preview of how much power it produces. And the power it produces is dependent on the flow rate, which it says here. So this water wheel will produce 270 horsepower per... Oh, what was CMS again? I need to put that in the edit later. But basically the flow rate, which is dependent on how narrow a stream is. So if we go around here for a second, let me pause that. You see up here where the water sources actually is. It's very high. I get the most amount of horsepower. If I place this on an edge outside here, it's not as much. Inside it's more. And if we were to artificially, or if we find an area where there's only like too wide, is there anywhere too wide? No. It would be even the highest. But for now, I'm going to pick this one because it gives me the highest power at the moment. And I will again need to extend the path in that direction. So yeah, if you, by the way, right click, it cancels. That's what I keep doing here because I'm clumsy. And while that is going on, we can go into the housing and build some lodges. And how do I want to do them this time? I think I'm going to put them here to show you another thing that you can do with beavers and the buildings, and that is building on top of each other. So right now we have built 2. We're going to connect this one with a pass. It wants 6 lodges, not just 2. Okay. Then let's build a third one over here and connect those 3. And in order to save space and to prepare for the future, we're going to build them on top of each other. And this is now an example where you would want the door on the other side, what I was showing earlier with the water pump. Because if I put it on the right, the door goes right into this building and you cannot connect it. But flip it around and it works. And then we need to do the same here because otherwise I can't connect it. It shows it as green because there's ways to making that work, but we don't have those yet. So I will need to do it like that and flip it around. Put a path in, connect it to the rest of the district, and then the beavers can get going with that once they're happy. The night is over. So water wheel is in. Now it wants us to build a lumber mill. We go into wood, and then over here you have lumber mill. And we place it like this. So it's connected to the wheel, otherwise it won't get power. There's ways of transferring power over here with these power shafts, but if you can avoid it, then do that. Saves you resources. And this one gets connected as well. And I'm going to show you another thing. I'm going to pause this for just a second. One thing you can do is you can set priorities, both for the construction side. So should they build it faster, as well as for the workplace, because we are soon going to get more jobs than we have beavers.
Really?
So they will need to prioritize what to do first. And when it comes to that, for example, water should always be your highest priority. You need to stock up on water so your beavers don't die of thirst. And in this case, because I want the production of this to get going, I'm gonna hire the priority of that. So they build this one before they build the rest of the houses. Good. While that is going, we can talk about one thing on the power again. As we saw earlier, we're gonna produce 187 horsepower. What I didn't mention is that buildings, up here it is, also require a certain amount of power. So if you build, 3 lumber mills I can power with 1 wheel, but if I would put a 4th one here, I'd be at 200 horsepower, and the production rate goes down. So the efficiency, basically. And the noise you heard earlier is something that the tutorial actually tells you as well, but now that I heard the noise, I got distracted and will open it before the tutorial says. That is your well-being, which is something you want to have a look into. And if you don't know what to do next, this is always a very good place to go, because you will need to reach a well-being of 15 to unlock the iron teeth I was talking about earlier. As I said, I played the game before, obviously, so they are unlocked. But there's different things like hunger, thirst, sleep, shelter, so housing, that gives you advantages on this well-being. And the well-being itself, if we click on one of the beavers, if I can pause the game, so I can click on one, will tell you that there's buffs from it. So if you hover over here, it's working speed, movement speed, and their life expectancy that's affected by it. And you see below, next here, well-being 5, you get plus 20% working speed. With a well-being of 2 only, we get plus 5%. So when this beaver, okay, this beaver has a well-being of 1, the average is 4. But as soon as this beaver gets the 2, we get 5% more movement speed. So right here, there should be some beavers that are faster than others. And with a well-being of 7, they will live longer. And this will grow and grow and grow. So you can make your beavers become quite old, which is very nice. And they're still working on the lodges. They're waiting for some of the materials. And we don't have enough at the moment. So our 2 lumberjacks, they're working as hard as they can. But apparently that's not hard enough. So we need to wait. And that is why the game speed is a very neat mechanic to have, because sometimes you're just going to wait for material or other things to happen. There we go. New high score of 5. And I have mentioned it, but I haven't explained. So in this game, you have your water sources, and there's 2 events that can happen at the moment. One is a drought, which means both this water source, as well as you may have seen over here, there's also this brown water called bad water. Both of these will stop flowing. So whenever that happens, you can't pump new water, the irrigation will go down. And if you're using it for power, you're not going to get any power out of water streams and or bad water streams. And the other event that can happen is a bad tide, which will turn this water source into a bad water source. So all this nice drinkable blue water that makes your land able to grow food will turn into this. So this is contaminated land that is contaminated with the bad water. That being said, we now have 3 days to prepare for it. And what you normally would want to do is build a dam somewhere so that the water doesn't just flow off the map. I'm purposefully not going to do that. I would recommend you do that before the drought starts, but I want to show what happens if we do not act on this. So will we survive with what the tutorial gives us, and if, how's that gonna look? So normally I would go into landscaping and build a dam, but I won't do that now. What I will do is talk about a tutorial, because hey, I haven't done that in a while. Just when I mentioned it, it just ticked it off. With these 6 houses, we have a total of 14 beds, which means the 12 adults we had can now produce new babies. So now we have, those 2 babies. I'm not going to pronounce that. And they will at some point also grow up and be workers. Tutorial-wise, we have 2 choices now. We can go into well-being, make our beavers live longer, or we can go into forestry. And this one is, should be on your highest priority, I think. Because as you see, with everything we've been building, we have barely managed to stockpile on logs, and we need logs for building. And the wood we can reach at the moment is soon going to run out. So unlocking and building the forester is very important. So if we go into wood, you will see here the locked sign for the forester. And here you have an unlock option, but you can also just select the house and places wherever you want. And I'm going to put that next to the farm because, again, I want to build or be able to plant as many trees as possible. If you haven't unlocked it down here, it will ask you, do you want to? It's going to cost you this much. You can see your signs up here next to your materials. So we have 92, we need 30. So yes, please, I want a forester. And as with anything like food and gathering resources, you very often need them to tell, you need to tell the beavers, I can speak, I promise, what they need to do. For that, you have plant trees. And I'm going to do a little bit different also as a tutorial here for once, because it wants you to build birch trees, or plant, not build. And you can see down here, in 7 days, this will produce 1 log of tree. And you have different options here. So you have pine, those are the ones that we have over here, and they will produce 2 logs in 12 days. So a little bit faster. To get 2 logs here, I need 14 days. To get 2 logs here, I need 12 days. Pine also will later produce pine resin, so a second material. And before I continue talking, you will now see what happens with the drought. The water runs all of the map a little bit, stays for a moment longer. This will also soon disappear. And all this previously green land has now become dry and brown. The trees are brown, the food is brown. And if you click on anything, it's actually going to say, how soon is this going to die? And the interesting bit is the carrots now. They actually die in 1.7 days. And our drought is in total 3 days long, but we have 2.3 left. So these carrots will die before the drought run ends and we're going to have water again. But if you come up here, you see we have over 200 carrots. Well, just under 200. It was over 200 a second ago. Stockpiled, and they will still be harvesting these until they die. Okay, this forest is still not built, so I'm going to speed up the game. They cannot get all required materials because our beavers are slow in cutting down trees. And this poor beaver, actually, you will see, has a chipped tooth. So we will address that in a moment as well. But in the meantime, while that is being built, I'm going to put up the priority so that they focus on this. Hold on a second. Oh no. As if I didn't talk about it. That you're going to have... I'm going to pause this now because we might be in trouble. You're going to have more jobs than you're going to have beavers. Apparently, we never had a beaver go in here and produce planks. Which means we now do not have any planks to build this forester. It just can't get all required materials. And up here you see it has all the logs, it's missing the planks. And unless we up the priority of this a bit, we are not gonna get planks. So please make me some planks, which I need to pause the gaming. You can't see me, but I have my hand in front of my face. I said that too.
It's weird that it happened twice, right?
In order to produce planks, you need power. For power, you need running water. When there's a drought, there's no running water, so we don't have planks. Yeah, let's go into well-being instead, and let's build them a campfire. You see here it has a buff of social campfire, which it will bring up, and it must be built on the ground, so I can't build this on any roofs, and I'm just gonna put this close to where they sleep, so that when the workday is over, they can just go here and then to bed. The one beavers down there gonna have to walk a bit longer, but oh well, that's life. More well-being. It wants a shrub. So we come into decoration, we pick that. And now you can see why I built the houses the way I built them. Because this shrub has an area of effect. So within these 9 tiles that are highlighted, any beaver crossing that will get the effect. So if you put that around or in the houses or even above, that means the beavers will get the effect while they sleep. So we can build one here, and I'm going to put a second one, just because we can, over here. So now our drought has ended, which means we finally get power back to our lumber mill and hopefully get our plans for the forester before we run out of trees. And you can see the water comes back, it re-irrigates all of this. However, our carrots have dried. Food-wise, we're quite okay. We have 100 carrots, we have 50 berries, not worried. Water, on the other hand, has gone fully down. And this is why if you start this new, you should probably put more than one pump. It just about was enough for our 16. No, what do we have? 11 plus 5. Yeah, 16 beavers. It was just enough for them. But you can see they're all thirsty now. And they're going to be thirsty for a bit because this one pump here is going to have a bit of trouble with the newly born beavers to actually support that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this again. So you just select it. You can either click the delete button up here or you click delete on your keyboard. It's going to ask you, do you really want to do this? You're going to get some of the materials back, not all of them. Or I believe so, if you do shift delete, it does it without the confirmation. The beavers will pick this up. Be wary. This will disintegrate after some time. Now he picked it up. That's why the UI disappeared. So you might lose materials if you don't prioritize the pickup of this. And now I'm gonna put the water storage, so that's under storage on the other side, so that I can put a second pump. Like this. Connect it, and then I can get on this in the morning. The other thing, since we're still waiting on planks, is it asks us to check one of the beavers, and we can see they have chipped teeth, we see their well-being, etc, etc. But we see this one has the plus 20 movement working speed, plus 5% movement speed, and soon, hopefully, they will get the 20% life expectancy. Probably once we fix this. And the thirst is also fixed. And one of the last things it tells you is open this full panel. We did that earlier when we had the new high score of 6. Unfortunately, with all of the thirst and the chipped teeth on those two, we dropped quite a bit. But I can address the chipped tooth. That's part of well-being. You have grindstones. And I'm going to put those... I'm going to put 2 in. One close to this lumberjack flag and another one close to this one. So that they can fix their teeth whenever they need to. So how are we doing for planks? 1 left. 1 last plank. There we go. And as I said, the last thing it wants us to do is plant birch trees. And in the very beginning, that's probably not a bad idea to plant some birch trees because they grow fast and you have some wood coming in. So I am going to do, well, I guess a bit more than the 20 it asks for because 20 logs is not much. And then I'm going to go over to oak. They have by far the highest ratio of logs for days, but you have to wait 30 days. So that's why some birch trees or pine trees in the beginning is not a bad idea. And I'm just going to put a bunch over here. And you will need more and more logs. So when you're looking to expand your colony, you will most likely do it because you need wood. And that's as far as the main tutorial goes. But you can see you will survive your first drought by just following this. I think the water is a bit of an edge case because it's been 2 days and we are still at 0 water. None of our beavers are thirsty anymore, but we haven't accumulated any water yet. So that would be my tip. 2 pumps and obviously build a dam, which we can get going now. So select that and you want to build that as, I guess, far downstream as you can so you have as much water. And or if you can have more layers, I would do that. But for the time being, I'm just going to put it here. We will have to, I think, come a bit closer with the path. I'm going to put that all on the edge so we have the space. And you can see our 4 beavers here are instantly starting with that. I think actually I realize why I messed up with this one. Because if I wouldn't have done this, I wouldn't have put 4 beavers in here. It would have been fine. Anywho, let's see just how this looks in the very end. And after that, I think we can call it a day. If you liked it, please like the video so other people can see it. Send it to a friend. And yeah, happy beavering. Happy damming. Come on, be faster, beavers.